Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to call the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners meeting to order for April 9th. Today's the 9th, is that correct? 2019. I'd like to welcome everybody to our meeting. We'll begin the meeting by asking Pastor Willie McKinnon, pastor of Hillcrest Baptist Church, to come forward. Like I said, we're going to ask Pastor Willie McKinnon, pastor of Trinity Baptist Church. Is that in Palatka?
Yes, in Palatka.
Okay, all right. He'll give our invocation, and then Commissioner Rawls will lead us in the pledge to the flag. Please stand.
Let's go to Lord in prayer. Dear most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning. We ask your Spirit to fill this place and guide each one of the decisions that are going to be made and that will affect the citizens of this county. And Lord, we lift the citizens of this county up to you, Lord, and we pray for your blessing over each and every one of them, as well as the leaders in this county as they make decisions, Lord. Again, we ask you for your guidance and your leadership through every decision that's made, and touch the hearts of each one of our county commissioners. For we ask these things in your precious holy name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor McKinnon, and thank you, Commissioner Rawls. We have a 9:05 certain Port Authority, so we can't start that until 9:05. So I would like to recognize a couple of people in the audience this morning. Oh, we'll go ahead and approve the minutes of the February 12th, 2019 Board of County Commissioner meeting. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Second.
There we got a proper motion by Commissioner Goddard and a proper second by Commissioner Rawls. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, moving forward, I'd like to welcome a couple of people, or recognize a few people. Chris Reyes with the Palatka newspaper, and also Wayne Smith, the new editor of the Palatka newspaper. Would you please stand?
Yep.
Also, President of the Chamber of Commerce, Ms. Dana Jones, and Vice President of Economic Development, Brian Bergen. And also with us, Michael Griffiths, the Georgia Pacific Mill Manager, and also the new Communications Director, Mark Brown.
Yay.
Okay, also I'd like to just read a card. Many of you knew Ms. Faye Sparkman, who was a regular at our Board of County Commissions. She lost her battle with cancer a couple of months ago, and they reached out to the Board of County Commissioners, and especially Larry Harvey and Buddy. Just says, thank you so much for the floral arrangement. It was beautiful. Thank you for all that you have done. Thank you, Larry, for the arranging the memorial and speaking. Sparky and I can't thank you enough for all the kind words. Mom spoke of you often and told me if I ever needed anything to call Larry Harvey. Continue the good work with all you're doing. God bless you all. His daughter Brenda and Mr. Sparky. So anyway, just wanted to read that. So it is 9:05, so I will recess the regular Board of County Commission meeting, and I'll convene the Port Authority meeting. And we need approval of the minutes of the Port Authority meeting for February 12th, 2019.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a proper motion by Commissioner Harvey and a second by Commissioner Turner. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Minutes pass. Okay, now I'd like to open the public comment portion of the Port Authority meeting. Any individuals wishing to come and speak for or against anything about the Port Authority, please come forward. Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public comment portion of this meeting and move on to the agenda. Item C, Public Works request for J&M Metal Works to lease 25,000 square feet building at the barge port.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner, any comment or discussions on that? Commissioner Rawls.
Several comments. The information that we were provided is, I personally feel like is very lacking. We're not going to be able to make a decision. I did have, I was reached out to by Steve Gannot when he saw this on the agenda, wanting to know why we didn't put this out for bid, and I said, it's really not a bid item, it's just a lease. He encouraged me to look into the background of this company. I've not been able to really find out a whole lot about him in the short period of time that I had after talking with him. But I would think at this point, we may not want to move forward with this until we get more information. Otherwise, we could be setting ourselves up for the same thing that happened with the last tenant in this building, which actually cost us money instead of making us money. And I know that I had seen Mr. Barfield in the audience, and I believe he has something to say as well.
If you would, state your name and address, speak clearly in the microphone.
My name is Bobby Barfield. I'm the Vice President of Operations for St. John Shipbuilding. I live at 112 Hummingbird Lane, Stokes Landing Road, Palaca, Florida. St. John Shipbuilding started in 2006 with 12 employees. We currently have 160 employees. We do roughly $30 million of business a year, and we have a need for expansion. We have several barges that come into our facility every year that requires topside work, and it takes up our waterfront to hinder us from other activities in the yard. We have a great need for expansion, and the Port Authority's location will be a great location for us to use as a satellite facility. Like I said, we've been in operation since October 2006, and to date, we're 160 employees, and we're still expanding. So we would like to also put our name in the pot to lease. We have all the insurances in place. We're a long-term company. We're not looking for a maybe. We have the work, and we need a facility. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman?
Okay, Commissioner Rawls, you,
Well, I was going to offer a motion, but
I have a comment I'd like.
okay, Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did reach out to the applicant on this, and going back and looking at some of the old documents, it appears that they were able to rent the facility at one time for 21 cents a square foot back many years ago. But if you use that same theory in today's world, 21 cents a foot would equal $52,000 a month, $5,200 a month plus dock rentage. So I really think that we can't afford to give away that valuable space, even though it is a local business, for that a little bit of money, because now they only want to rent it at 12 cents a square foot, and that's just not practical. So I think I'm just not in favor of doing that. That's all.
also I'd like to point out that they're actually not a local business.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
Yeah,
wait a minute, I want to clarify something. Your last comment, Commissioner Harvey, I didn't hear that.
I'm just not in favor of this entering into a lease. That's all.
Okay, Commissioner Turner?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My concern about this is there's no end to it. I don't mind, that building is supposed to be an economic development incentive. That's what it's all about. And so, I don't have a problem giving them a reduced rent for a certain amount of time to help them out in economic development. It was no different than what we did with the Castle Light. We gave them 1 year's free rent, second year at a reduced rate, excuse me, trying to help them grow the business. That's what that building's there for. The problem I'm having here is it's basically $3,000 a month opened in, never, and they could like rent it forever for $3,000 a month or rent it for a month and be gone. So to me, this is not a lease. This is not a deal that we need to look at. What we need to do is, if they want to rent our building, if they want it for a year, they need to offer us a 1 year rent. If they want us to give them short-term rental by the month, that's just, I don't know that that's to the county's advantage to do that, especially at a reduced rate. I don't know how much we're helping somebody by letting them take our economic incentive and tie it up to where we can't bring in a real bit, another business or another whatever, because it's tied up over a reduced rent. The going rate is, for this type of building, I understand, is $4 to $5. That's for a year, not a month, $4 to $5 a foot. So that would, instead of $36,000 a year, that would obviously be quite a bit more. So I don't know, I can't support this particular deal myself either. I think that it would be if it could be brought back in a form that was correct and advantageous to economic development, then I would be for it. I don't mind giving them the building for that much a month if we had some kind of a plan that they wanted to rent it for 2 years, a year, and then it goes up a year or whatever, kind of like a tiered thing where we could actually count it as towards economic development. I look at this as it's probably more of a giveaway than it is an economic development incentive. So for that reason, I can't support this one this morning either, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we move this to a workshop. And if I can qualify this real quick, so we can further discuss the possibility, since this is already on the agenda, get it to our agenda on the workshop and discuss what we would like to see rent-wise and conditions. So anything being brought in the future would at least line up with what our anticipation is, and not, I'm not saying waste our time, but waste our time. So I'd like to make a motion that we move this as an agenda item for discussion this afternoon to the Port Authority workshop.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a proper motion by Commissioner Rawls to move this to our afternoon meeting, Port Authority meeting.
Mr. Chairman, under discussion.
Okay, and got a proper second by Commissioner Goddard. So discussion, Commissioner Turner?
Sorry, sir, I jumped the gun, thought we were there already. I understand that this is a time-sensitive item for the people that are needing someplace to rent. So, while we usually don't make decisions in a workshop, I would like to say on TV that this could be one of those, if we worked a deal out suitable to this commission, that we actually did something in workshop where it doesn't have to come back in 2 weeks and these people lose their contract that they were gonna use this building for. So I thought I thought that needed to be stated in this meeting on television, that if somebody's interested in this one, they need to show up to the workshop this afternoon possibly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Harvey?
thank you. I don't mind moving it to a workshop, but I will say I think there's two distinct things going on here. One is the applicant's request to rent it at a reduced rate. And I think we've all said we're not, well, not all, but the majority have said we're not interested in that. The other one is the procedures, how we go forward in the future. So I think we could carve that out. And I think today at the workshop, we could talk more procedure instead of applicant today. And so I'd rather split that off, if you don't mind.
Are you amending the motion?
You would have to amend your motion if you want to go with procedure only and applicant today, right now.
Okay, but excuse me, just wait a minute. I think you're about to say what I'm gonna say, but isn't this one a time sensitive? Is this the one that would need to know today? A yes or no, Commissioner, or Administrator Suggs?
This was a request from the applicants. Yes, it was a time sensitive, but it would be the will of the commission here this morning. I think Commissioner Harvey is correct. I think we need to separate it out. We'll have policies and procedure discussion at the workshop today. And you can go ahead and have further discussion and make a motion whether you want to approve or deny the request of the lease here this morning.
I'll amend the motion then that we reject the offer this morning and move this space to the workshop for further discussion, not on the lease, but
Future lease.
future leases.
Okay, well that, Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Okay, let me get
point of order, that completely changes the motion from what it was earlier.
Right.
If we
Can-
want to
Mr. Chair,
go-
can we just have a motion on the item on the agenda itself, and then we can go to the discussion on procedures after? So can we just get a motion on the item on the agenda itself?
We already got a motion and a second on the floor. Probably needs to be
I'll
withdrawn.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
I'll
it's-
retract my motion.
Okay.
And I'll withdraw.
All right, so if you're on the motion and the second, okay.
All right, can we start from scratch?
All right, wait a minute, hang on just a second. Tim Smith, you have a comment?
Yes, just as a point of a matter that any of these leases are subject to sales tax. And so when those agreements are set, it needs to be that sales tax is going to be in addition to what the rent is, so that you don't end up having to pay sales tax out of your proceeds. So that's just for the workshop.
Is it a
component.
traditional 7%? There's nothing different for industrial or anything like that, 7%?
Well, I don't know that I can tell you the rate right off the top of my head, but there is a sales tax component. and we can get that for you.
It was actually lowered a little bit at 6.75.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner Turner?
Okay, I just want to make sure what just happened. I'm trying not to be real thick. But it seems to me like we had a motion on the floor that we were going to take this to the workshop and we could discuss whatever we wanted to. And so that was taken back, where we can make a motion to go to workshop and only discuss procedures and not the actual thing that we need to discuss to keep these people in being able to know, can they move forward with their project or not. That's backwards from what we need to be doing. I think we need to have the original motion that Mr. Rawls made, which is to carry it to workshop and discuss the lease and procedures. If we don't want to do the lease, the people deserve an answer that we're not going to do the lease, where we're not going to mess up their business deal that's predicated on them getting this lease or not. So I think we need to have the latitude to be able to discuss both of these issues, which are both very pertinent to what needs to be discussed today. We're gonna accept the proposed on the lease and procedures for a leasing again in the future, which is what everybody wanted to discuss. So I would request that the original motion be remade, that we go to workshop and talk about this afternoon, and then we can talk about the lease and we can talk about the procedures.
That's your motion?
That's my motion.
Okay, well, I'll second that one.
All right, we got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Turner, a proper second by Commissioner Goddard. Any further discussion?
I think, since this is so time sensitive, I wasn't aware of that, and we have such little supporting documentation, we could go ahead and reject this offer and go to the workshop and discuss what our anticipations are, so they can come back in and later with the supporting documentation. Right now, honestly, there's nothing really to discuss regarding this lease, even at a workshop. The totality of this is 3 lines of text. And like you pointed out, it offers no start date, no end date. It offers no escalation of cost. It doesn't really offer anything. But what it also does not offer is their financial ability or bonding ability to be able to lease this building, maintain it in such a way that it doesn't cost us money like the last lesser did. So I would offer, it's going to take us right back where we were.
But if I can interrupt, I do believe that Commissioner Turner's motion will accomplish both things. It'll probably be a 15-minute conversation on this, whether we're going to approve it or not.
Okay.
And me looking at it, I was totally shocked of the lack of information. That's all it is
I would say
half a
whoever
page.
brought this before us needs to rethink bringing
Right,
stuff
and I
like
think
this.
everybody else is in agreement with that. So I agree with it, that we can handle both of these items at our Port Authority.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay,
Mr. Chairman, if I could for a second.
okay.
Mr.
Commissioner Ross.
Barfield, are you planning on being present this afternoon at 2 o'clock? Okay, I think that would be helpful, to be honest with you. All right, thank you.
Okay, next item, Public Works request by Newcastle Shipyard for reduction in dockings fees at the barge port. Administrator Suggs, you want to start with that, or?
Yes, sir, we got a request from Newcastle to bring a 90-foot vessel into our port. They did request that we consider reducing our dockage fees. I believe our current dockage fees are $1 per day, and did some research, or Public Works did some research and brought a suggestion of $2,002.50 per month lease. I think it's for a 2 to 3 month lease, if I'm correct on that, Press. Mhm.
Good morning, Press Tompkins, Public Works Director. Yes, they contacted us about reduced dockage fee for a short-term lease. They got a 90-foot yacht coming in for some repairs on it, and they asked us to look at our dockage rate for a short-term lease, and which I did a comparison for several of the marinas around this area and the other marina located in Putnam County. And right now, the county and Crystal Cove's at $1 a foot per day. some of the other marinas in the vicinity are a little bit less than that. We had one at $1,650 a month, and then two at a little over $2,000 a month, and then we were at 27. So that's why I gave you the comparison. So if the board is so willing, they have the ability to reduce the dockage fee for the short-term rental.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Rawls?
Mr. Tompkins, just looks like a Scrivener's error, but you've got 22.25 and 22.50 a foot for St. Augustine and Comanche Cove. That's more of a comment than a question, but I working the math out, it does come out to $2.25 and $2.50.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you're talking to marinas, not commercial dockage. And I was a large boat owner at one time. It says that there's a period of 2 to 3 months. Typically in a marina, if you're staying for a full month, there's actually a reduction in cost. You don't pay by the day. I didn't know if there's any way to find out, and I have no problem with this is proposed. This is good money for us, obviously. But in the future, is there any way we can find out what commercial dock space leases for? Because we have a very small footprint on the river, which makes it very valuable real estate. There's not a lot of this stuff available, and they're not going to go to Crystal Cove or St. Augustine Marina or House and take their barge there and work on it, or boat. That's not going to happen. We're talking about industrial versus private ownership, small boat. And then the other thing was the 30 amp power is available. I had a comment to Mr. Suggs. If we're going to make power available, I would personally like to see us sub-meter that and be able to charge them back what they're using. Because if they're using that to plug in a boat that's going to be running multiple air conditioners, that thing can be running all day and all night. And where you're looking at $88 a month, in a marina, and typically your boats are going to be 35 to 50 feet in those types of marinas, you're not going to have a lot of usage. Where you bring in a 90-foot luxury yacht, and it could be running day and night, and we're just losing that end of it. So I would like to see some language. And again, this documentation is a little bit lacking, but it's a lot closer to home than the other one.
And just to answer that, I did try to look into it. We do have shore power there. I don't know how it's metered. The last gentleman there, Captain Conrad, when he had the Flamingo Dancer in there, he was on some type of shore power, but he did lease part of the building from us. So I'm thinking the power was part of the lease on the building. I cannot find a sub-meter on the shore power. So that's some of the things we would have to look into on how to handle that for that. And like I said, I couldn't find any sub-metering in our facility.
If I can interrupt you, we've installed several of these in my company where you go in, you have the breaker that feeds that 30 amp or 50 amp receptacle shore power. You put a Eamon Demon is one that Eaton makes. That is a digital meter, and it reads every amp going through that breaker, and it only applies it to that boat in this case. And it would benefit us because we could turn around and charge them back.
That is correct. And they requested only a 30 amp service. I did get confirmation from them on that. So, but that's why I put those electrical fees on the sheet I gave you, because they do charge extra for the electrical power above the dockage rate.
Right.
Okay. Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Flamingo Dancer, I hope, is a boat, right?
Yes, it was.
Thank you. I was just making clear of that, that's why we're here. How much dock space do we really have out there? Because the 90-foot boat, we just heard of a gentleman that might be interested in some more dock space. How much do we really have out there?
I think we have several hundred feet, because
Okay.
our dockage space goes down in front of the old crane. It goes all the way to the Newcastle property line.
Okay.
So we do have dockage. It doesn't appear to be in front of our building, but our dockage does extend further that way and all the way to the, so we have several hundred feet of dockage.
All right, so would you be opposed to what Commissioner Rawls says about, and what the Honorable Tim Smith said about adding the line that we should $2,700 a month plus sales tax, plus the sub-meter power paid by Newcastle?
I have no problem with that. That's why I brought the information
Okay.
for y'all to make that decision.
Okay. Thank you. That's the only questions I have, Mr. Chairman.
I have one more question. Will we see the
Didn't
final
think it was
lease?
his turn, Mr. Chairman. Is that how you'd like me to do, is just butt in?
No, what, Commissioner Harvey, are you done?
I am, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Turner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Few things, the power feed that goes out there now, or if there was one, it comes off the building, correct?
Yes, sir.
So there's nobody in the building at the current time.
That is
So
correct.
maybe we just need to say, for this particular instance, they just need to pay the power for that building if they're gonna use the power off the building.
That
On this
could be- yes, sir.
particular, it's hard for them to do put in a lot of money in sub-feeds and all that when they're gonna use it for 2 or 3 months. So, so that's what I would recommend as far as that. And the dock space, yeah, we have a lot of dock space out there, but I'd like for somebody in this room to tell me last time somebody was parked at it. You know, dock space that you have and never use is different than dock space that you're trying to get top dollar for and it's filled up all the time. I don't know the last time we rented a piece of that dock space since the hurricanes of last year, maybe when they, or 2 years ago, when they were renting the dock space for a few bucks to be able to load the debris from the river onto the shore. I think that's the last time we rented any of that dock space. So if this becomes an issue, you know, I feel like that we could go to our business neighbor and tell him that we need him to move his boat over or do something, and I'm sure that they'd be more than happy to accommodate us if it, in the next 2 to 3 months. So I think there is more documentation on this. It's an existing business. There's a beginning and an end. It's 2 to 3 months. It's a deal. I'm prepared to move forward on this one today and do what was mentioned a moment ago by Commissioner Harvey, that we add sales tax to the rent and that we add whatever the electrical costs are that they use. If I haven't made the motion yet, but still under discussion, it may be that we even could take the amount. That building's been sitting vacant now for several months.
Yes, sir.
We should know about what it costs us a month in existing electric bills. So maybe we deduct that amount from it and they pay for any additional bills over and above that amount, because they pay rent and they, just like they laid out here, plus sales tax, plus they pay any additional electricity that the county would have to pay and above. And that is a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, what was the?
I'll second that.
Okay, what was the rate? What rate are we going with? Is it?
2,700 per month, I think is what it was, right? No, excuse me,
2,000.
It is.
2,700 a month for 2 to 3 months. And they will pay sales tax on it, plus they will pay, any additional electric that they generate above what we're using now.
I don't think it was 2,700, sir.
Right.
2,000.
2,000.
So it's not gonna be.
2,250, is that it? The one?
Yes, sir.
That's
That's
the
if you-
recommended adjusted rate.
Okay, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, $2,250 a month.
2,250 months. Okay, so it's the rate of $2,002.50 per month, plus the applicable sales tax, and the portion of the power bill increase over above what is usual at that facility.
Right.
So what it is? Okay, so we've got a proper motion on the floor?
And a proper second,
Okay,
Mr. Rawls.
okay. All right, got a proper motion by Commissioner Turner, proper second by Commissioner Rawls. Any more discussion?
I have a discussion. When I seconded this, I thought we were talking 2,700, but I can live with the 2,000. It's definitely a far cry, but, you know, I'll state it again. The cost for us to sub-meter that is very low cost for us to purchase and monitor our own power meter. My question is this body gonna see the final lease agreement before it goes out? Because the last lease agreement that we had to deal with, this body, didn't have any protections really written in for the county. We ended up spending around $10,000 to get out of a lease that we didn't make a dime on. So I'm wondering, mean, are we making,
Mr. Chairman.
are we making a vote here to approve this lease that we've never seen? Is that what I'm hearing?
Mr. Chairman, I can explain my
Okay,
motion
Commissioner
if
Turner.
you'd like me to. My motion was to rent it for 3 months. There was not a lease involved at all. Rent it to them for 3 months like they've asked to do. And for a 3-month period, we're leasing them dock space. We're not leasing them inside. Is that not right?
That is correct.
We're leasing them dock space outside at the dock. So if somebody drove up tomorrow, we've never met before, never been to this meeting, they could rent that thing for $2,700 a month. So we've agreed, because they're a local business in good standing and there's an economic development incentive, that we're gonna lease it to them for $2,002.50 a month plus tax. So I understand that it's easy to keep going back, but I'll tell you right now, if I had the opportunity again to make the lease, you could keep bringing it up with Castle Light, I'll make it again today with the information that we had at the time. It was a straight economic development program that we were trying to work to get a new business in town that made perfect sense. It's not fair to keep looking back at it and say, oh, well, we messed one up. Yeah, we did, and it cost us some money, but we also got a $10,000 deposit from him, and I don't think it cost us $10,000 to get rid of it. Well, I know, sorry, Russ, I didn't mean to look at you, I was looking at Matt. He must be playing solitaire, he ain't looking over here at me.
We've learned not to make eye contact.
Okay, is that what it is?
Playing Texas Hold'em.
So anyhow, I would have made the same deal at the same time. We took 10,000 down. It didn't cost us 10,000 on that building because we did that, but it did cost us a few thousand to finally get out of it, but that was mainly because we had to hire outside counsel because our inside counsel didn't feel like he could handle it in-house. So that's a whole nother subject from where we are today. They've asked us to rent dock space. So I say we rent them the dock space. It's kind of like selling the airspace in the landfill. If you own 15 years worth of it, you're not owning anything. You're just not selling your airspace. We haven't used that dock in a long time. Let these business people go out there and try to use it. It's not like they're asking us to give it to them for nothing. They're asking us to bring it down where it'll fit within the contract amount that they can make their deal work. So that's what I'm saying is I hold to my motion, Mr. Chairman, that we go ahead and approve this deal and let them have the dock space for the $2,002.50 a month plus tax and any additional electricity that it would cost the county.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, hang on just a second. Mr. Castleberry?
Yeah, Press, do you have any kind of written agreement that you
Yes,
use?
sir. We have a standard dockage agreement that we use when people come in, either on a daily basis or of that nature, but this is one that we've used for years with our rate. We have rented it to Veritas on a daily basis in the last several months when they have some heavy steel that has to go out on a barge. They'll rent dockage space from us for a day or two. And we we have them sign these standard dockage agreements at, $1 a foot per day. And we haven't had any trouble with it. So they were just asking for reduced rates since they're going to be there for 2 or 3 months to do this repair on this one vessel.
Okay, Administrator Suggs? Or, excuse me, Russ, any more questions?
No.
Administrator Suggs, you have a question?
No, sir. That was
Commissioner
Commissioner
Harvey?
Harvey.
Could you bring a copy of that agreement today so we can just look over that when we do our policy procedures real quick? I
Yes,
think
sir.
that'll clean everything up pretty fast.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Rawls?
Just a comment. I'm in favor of approving this. My skepticism comes in that we don't have anything that, Mr. Turner had said, if somebody drives up there and says, I want to rent this. Well, if somebody drives up there and gets out and trips over a piece of debris that is on our property and hurts themselves and we're not indemnified by the people leasing it. So I'm just asking for something a little more than what we have here in front of us that offers us the protections that we need as a community to be able to, what if they came in and, we said it's 2 or 3 months, that could be extrapolated to 10 or 12 months, and we have somebody wanting to come in and lease the space, but they've lost time on a job and are behind schedule and need it for longer. So just some contract language would be nice. That's all I'm asking.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay.
Well, he just got through saying he had that kind of language.
I don't know. I'm not seeing it. Have you seen it lately?
No, not in a
So
long
that's
time.
my point is I haven't seen it. And As a person that has to cast 20% of the vote, I would be more comfortable seeing the language, not knowing that Mr. Tompkins has a copy of it. So
That's fine, but I believe him when he says he's got it.
Okay,
I'm just moving from prudence here, that's all.
Okay, you can bring that with you
Yes, sir.
this afternoon, Fred?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, any more discussion on this item? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, item D passes. Okay, next is item E, Public Works First Coast Technical College lease extension. Press, you want to take this, or Administrator Suggs?
Either or, I'll start it, Press. Yeah, this is let me get to where I am on my agenda. First Coast Technical College requested that they continue leasing the facility out of the Bargeport for their school, for their classroom on a month-to-month basis. As you know, they're going to be relocating to St. Johns County. However, they have not got all their facilities prepared to move the school itself. So I think it's Patrick Snodgrass is the gentleman who we've been working with. They've had a great track record with us. Once again, they're asking to be able to remain in the building on a month-to-month until they get their facilities completed in St. Johns County.
Okay. Commissioner Turner?
Are they operating right now?
Yes, sir, they are.
They're open and running, and did they have any idea approximately how much longer they needed this facility by?
I think they asked us for a year on a month-to-month basis, because like I said, they're trying to get the facility in St. Augustine up and running. We have given them this extension in the past.
This is the second request for an
yeah.
extension.
Yeah, I remembered it from last year.
And, they've been a good tenant. They pay their bills on time, and
Well,
we haven't-
last year, though, they requested for another year's lease, and we gave them another year's
Yes,
lease.
sir.
Now they're asking just to rent it month-to-month basis. Will they want us to like start and give them a day rate here before long or something? What is do they just, they can't give us, they don't want another year? I guess that's where I'm trying to go.
I think what they said, Administrator Suggs, was they wanted to go up to a year, but on a month-to-month basis. So if they did get their facility in St. Augustine up and running, they could, get out of the lease with a 30-day notice and relocate. So it was basically up to a year, but on a month-to-month basis.
Okay, is that your recommendation that we do that, or did you just bring us the information that was brought to you?
I have no problem recommending it. They've been a good tenant, and I think it's good to have an occupant down in the Bargeport where our facilities are. At least we have a presence there. I don't see any negative to it.
As much as we'd like to have a longer term lease, I think the history with the leasee in the county and the situation that they're in St. Johns County, I think this is certainly a win for them, but I think it also is one I would recommend approval here this morning until we can find another suitable tenant.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I yield the floor. Thank you.
Thanks. I have a couple comments first. All right, this says month to month. It doesn't have up to a year, unless I missed it. So a month to month could, like Commissioner Rawls was saying,
Right.
3 can turn into 6 and 6 can turn into 12. So, so we put it in there maybe that it is up to 1 year and they'd have to come back to us. And did I hear that they are planning on relocating?
Yes, sir. I mean, that's been their plan. I think they were, I don't want to speak at it, I think they were directed to relocate that facility to the St. Augustine campus. And like I said, but to set up a welding shop takes a good bit of effort and equipment. So actually, I don't know their situation other than they've asked to be extended to keep the welding school going.
Okay, all right. Commissioner Rawls?
You got on part of what I was going to say was putting a cap on this. And then the other thing that I think we should maybe do is look at trying to find someone to lease this building at 12 months out and possibly sooner. A 30-day window for us is a very short period of time. I would love to see us get 60 days notice from them. That may not be practical. And I know that they have been here for a long time. The $5,000 price, is that what they're currently paying?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Excuse me, I believe with tax and everything, it's $5,700 and some
exempt.
change.
They're
Okay.
exempt.
They're exempt? Okay, so I don't have a problem with this. I just, if we could put a little more language in there, because as they start to look at moving out, the more notice we have, or if we could start getting word on the ground that up to a year from now, we would have this facility available at the barge port, we might be able to start attracting someone to come in here and fill that space.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Turner?
I agree to some extent, but we need to keep this in perspective. I know they're moving out and going back to St. Johns County, but when they were coming in here originally, the county was throwing everything at them they could, trying to get them to come in here and be part of our community with First Coast Tech. So, you know, let's make sure we're doing this for the right reasons here, and that, you know, I still want them in the community for as long as they want to be here until the new programs they got going in the school system and the college and the other ones they're trying to get started, get up and running, because there is a need for that in this area. Welding school, and I think they may still be doing the air conditioning out there. I'm not quite sure, but anyhow, they're still using that building for what it was intended to be. And the longer we can keep it here, the better it is for the community and for workforce development. So, yeah, I would really like to have a 60-day notice. I really would, but I think that somebody needs to go and talk to them. I don't know if it would be the administrator or who, and just try to get some kind of a ballpark idea on what they're doing, because Commissioner Rawls is exactly correct. We need to start renting this building at some point. If they're wanting to move out within a year, then we need to start hunting somebody else that wants to move in at the end of that year. You know, instead of waiting till a year and say, okay, they're out, now let's go find somebody. We need to be a little more proactive than that at the port. So, anyhow, if they would give us 60 days, that would be nice. If it wouldn't put them in a crack they couldn't get out of, it'd give us more room to do what we need to do with the port property. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. You have a comment, Administrator Suggs? You can-
Yes, sir,
get
just for clarification, if this comes up in a motion to approve here this morning, the language of 30 versus 60, if I will work on that, but if we need to get an answer back to them, we don't meet but once a month. So I'd like a little bit of direction if we can't change the language, or if they can't change it for whatever reason on their end, if we're okay with the 30 days, so we don't hold this up.
I concur.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion
Okay, Commissioner Harvey?
that we approve this item and that we amend it for a maximum of 1 year to July of 2020. And if we can get a 60-day written notice, that's good, but if we have to stay with 30, we'll do the same. And we'll give that latitude to Mr. Suggs to make that call.
Second.
Okay, we've got a proper motion by Commissioner Harvey, proper second by Commissioner Rawls. Any more discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, item E passes. Okay, thank you, Press. Okay, for item F, any general discussion about the Port Authority?
Save it until the workshop. I'll save mine till the workshop.
The workshop?
Thank you.
Okay. I have a question on procedure. Can I adjourn this? Because we have a completely separate meeting at 2 o'clock with the Port Authority, correct? Rather than recess it to then? Okay. I'll adjourn the Port Authority meeting and reconvene the regular Board of County Commission meeting. And item 4, presentations. I'd like to ask Mr. Michael Griffith, Georgia Pacific Mill Manager, to come up and give us an update on the project and job creation out at GP.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to all.
Good morning.
Thank you for having us. Mike Griffith, Mill Manager here at the Georgia Pacific Plaque Operations. It's an honor to come before you today and just give you an update on the project and how we're progressing there at the mill and job creation. I guess, but before I do, I'd like to just pause for a minute and express a sincere thank you to the Board of Commissioners, as well as our elected officials that might be present or not present. Because I would share with you, without the partnership that has been developed over the years between the community and our company, that investment probably would have never happened. So for that, the team members out at the mill are much thankful for the partnership that we have, and we look forward to continue to being a valued community member with you. So thanks for that. Just as a reminder, this was a $425 million investment that our company made in the plaque operations here in Putnam County. And it provided us the opportunity to increase our capability around our product portfolio. So through air drying is a technology that's come into the paper industry in the last 10 to 15 years, and the company has been investing in that technology, and this is the first investment in Putnam County for Georgia-Pacific with that technology. But what it allows us to do is to produce a premium towel that a lot of our competitors are currently making, so it improves our competitive position overall. So really exciting for that, and it complements our portfolio of products that we currently have, such as Angel Soft and Sparkle Towel, well-known family brands that we'll continue to produce here at the facility, as well as the capability of producing private label products for some of our customers that would prefer their name to be on that product. When I think about the agreement that was reached with the company and the county some years ago, there was a commitment of at least 70 net jobs to be created with this project. And I'm pleased to announce that as of December 31st of 2018, the net new jobs was 104, which goes back, if we started in May of 2017 through December 31st of 2018, the net new jobs thus far is 104 new jobs. So in addition to that, we currently have about 350 contractors on site today. And we expect that to peak somewhere around 550 contractors this summer. The project is still scheduled for completion the first part of 2020. So we're pleased with that, but we're most pleased with the new team members that have joined the Palaca family and chose to have a career with Georgia-Pacific. So we're excited for the continued growth inside our facility and the partnership that we have with the county. We're excited for the growth that we're seeing in the county and the positive results that are coming out of all the good work that this board is doing and others within the government-elect, if you will. So, boy, I would have to just mention the school system as well. So we are so pleased to be able to partner with the school system. And when we think about the new certification process around the advanced technicians that's coming up out of high school, it just better equips our Putnam County residents to be really qualified candidates to come be a part of our family in the future. So we thank you for your support in that as well. So thank you for your time and all that you do for the people of Putnam County.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, hang on just a second. I know Commissioner Harvey has some questions, and I'm gonna say a couple things, and he'll think of more questions, which is always good. But Michael, I just want to thank you for your efforts in Palaca with GP and y'all's recommitment to Putnam County with this project. And it's exciting of the new jobs that it's going to create and all the other jobs that will come from those job creations. So I just want to thank you for that. And I know Commissioner Harvey has some comments.
Michael, thank you. And Mr. Chairman, I appreciate it. I come from a long family of mill workers, and my grandfather came out of Plattsburgh to start Hudson Pulp and Paper tissue side, and my dad worked out there, and I was supposed to work out there, but I just couldn't do it. I went to the insurance business, but I became a certified welder in case I did need to go out there. So I took available of that. But when I was chairman, this came up, and it was it wasn't a hard decision for me. It was easy because this board had an opportunity to support a local business that was going to invest in Putnam County, keep those jobs that were currently here, and grow their business. That's what we should be about. My motto is for me to get out of the way and let you do what you do best, and that's make money and invest it back in the community. So I really want you to know how much we appreciate GP. I tell you, I don't go home with any other product from when I go to the grocery store than a GP product.
We appreciate
and
that.
I would tell everybody, buy GP products. We had to in our family growing up, and I still make it a requirement to all my kids, buy GP products. So because they support this community. And it's not that, we got jobs out there, and those jobs create more jobs. And I mean, think of all the impact that goes on in Putnam County because of Georgia-Pacific and what you do in this community. So thank you very much. And just let your bosses know by first name basis, they won't let you call them last name, first name basis, how much we appreciate what's going on at the mill and anything we can do to help. And also, I need to say this, County Road 216, what a partnership there, right?
yes, that's
I mean, with you, the Georgia Pacific, with the state of Florida, with the county,
What a great
I
example.
mean, really, that's the best of both worlds right there we could ever have. So, but thank you again for everything. And Mr. Chairman, thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Commissioner
Any other
Harvey.
comments? Okay, thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we'll move forward with agenda item 5, public comment. This portion of the agenda is designed to allow citizens an opportunity to bring matters to the attention of the board. It's not reasonable to expect that the board will enter into debate or deliberation on matters on which the board had received no prior information on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. We prefer that you fill out a public comment card, which is at the entrance and the exit of our building here, and distribute them to Sarah Oliver over to your right, my left, our clerk. And my first speaker, I believe is it Barfield?
Bobby just left.
He's already spoke. That was Port Authority.
Okay. All right, second is Sally Baston. Okay, if you'll please speak clearly into the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
My name is Sally Baston. I live at 111 Buckles Drive in Hollister, and I'm here on behalf of the Archives Committee for the Genealogical Society. We're just kind of frustrated with this not moving forward, and I'm basically here to ask for an appointment. We had hoped to have an appointment before now with Mr. Suggs to answer a lot of questions we have. And if we could have an appointment with him either later this week or one day next week so that we could have our presentation on the agenda for the next meeting, how do we go about doing that?
I think you just did.
I think you just did. Do you have his contact information?
I do not personally, no.
Do you have a card with you, Terry, or?
No, sir, but I can get one real quick. They can just call the main number of 0205 and.
0205?
This.
It's
329-0205.
329.
Miss Lisa will take care of it.
Lisa. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Commissioner Harvey, you had a question?
Ms. Baston, let me say this. A few weeks ago, we had a group come up. It's kind of like your society's splintered right now. You have a lot of different people speaking, but we were out at Federal Point last Saturday, week ago, and we had that conversation with the lady who's doing all this. So she's already had it with Mr. Suggs.
Who is that?
Yes, the reporter, come on.
At the radio station.
Marshall Lane.
Marcia Lane. And the other lady that came before us the last time who didn't know Marcia was involved in it was also there at that meeting. So, and the lady who's doing the younger lady that works for the county. So that meeting kind of already happened. So you might want to get with them before you call back to him, because they kind of had that meeting at Federal Point the other day.
Okay, it was my understanding that Miss Lane is not cooperating with the Genealogical Society.
But, okay, y'all need to work that out, because
All right.
that happened.
All right, thank you.
If I could, Mr. Chair, I'm glad you brought that up, Commissioner Harvey, because there is some confusion amongst the groups that are wanting to move this thing forward. We got competing interests, and we got different ideas that are coming in at this point. Someone needs to get the volunteer group, someone needs to get ahead of this with them and then come back to us so we can move forward with an idea and a plan that's going to be sustainable for not only for the county but for the group as well. And right now, we've got some issues.
Yeah.
That's what we've been trying to do, but there's not a lot of cooperation with some of the other people.
Okay, Commissioner Turner?
Somehow or another, we've got to figure out a way to have a group of people that's gonna do
Yes,
this.
we agree.
I understand that everybody doesn't get along in every room, for sure, including here. So I would recommend and suggest that Mr. Suggs, at some point, try to set up a meeting with the interested parties from all sides and put them all in the same room, whether it be here or not, and try to come up with some kind of a plan to move forward. not that I mind, but there's no need in a different person that has the same interest to come up here at every meeting and do what you just did this morning. Don't mind at all, don't misunderstand. But it's basically, last meeting, it was somebody else, and then Federal Point, Marcia called out, all not together, but evidently,
She talking
Called all of us.
listening to y'all, she called us all at Federal Point the other day and let us have it too. So, if we could just figure out a way to get everybody kind of on the same page, that'd be really good.
That's exactly what we want.
Okay.
Okay. Well, what we can do is I'll get with, we got your contact information on here. And we'll get with Marshall, and we'll reach out to him. We'll schedule a meeting the next week or so and see if we can't.
Thank
pull
you
some
very
interest
much.
together.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, thank you.
If I could
Commissioner
real
Ross?
quick, I personally wouldn't mind seeing this coming before a workshop. Get all the interested parties in a room, and we could all noodle it out together. But I concur with Mr. Harvey and Mr. Turner both said. That what I heard last week at Stanton Landing and today are polar opposites.
Yes.
And then going back to our last meeting when this was discussed,
That is why we all need to meet with Mr. Suggs and get it all.
I would encourage you to meet amongst each other first and find the common ground that you can, so you can present that to us, and then work out your differences later on the other stuff. But
Okay.
if you want this to move forward at all.
Yes, we do. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next speaker, Paul Adamzak.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Paul Adamzak, 150 Spooner Road, Hawthorne, Florida. I'm here today in front of you guys to talk about evening meetings. I know I've talked to all of you about it at one point or another. We have been doing a bipartisan poll with the Democrats as well as the Republicans in Putnam County on this subject. I just want to give you an update where we stand. As of now, 97.7% of respondents want it changed in some way or another. 2 people replied to keep it at 9 a.m. 1 person wants to move to 7 a.m. And 84 people basically wanted either 6 p.m. or a combination where one meeting is at 9 a.m. and the second meeting of the month is at 6 p.m. That's the one I support. We did get more support for 6 p.m. only, but I believe the combination one, if you guys were interested in it, would present the most opportunity for more people to attend. As far as I know, there were some concerns about 9 a.m. if you eliminated it. Elderly people who don't want to drive at night in the winter time and stuff, they wouldn't be able to attend, so we want to keep that open to them. But obviously, a lot of the people who come to these meetings or want to come to these meetings work. So during 9 a.m. is not an opportune time to get here. That's all I have to say on it.
Paul, you said the percentages. Do you have any idea how many people, did you say how many people actually filled out
87
the
people
poll?
have responded so far. We did it at the fair, and then we did it at the Catfish Festival.
So
we
87.
can go forward with more if you'd like.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Was there any comments, or did you have portion for a comment of why they wanted to attend a meeting? Was it
We didn't have it
because
laid
they
out.
wanted to be part
Yeah, so we try to
of
keep
the
it
meeting?
simple.
Did they want to come and complain? Did they have issues? And I will say that I'm open for anything, but if something's very important to you, such as going to the doctor, I don't think I've ever had an employee that went to the doctor on their day off. They would schedule it on a work day, during the day. So I just want a little more information, because 87 people, that's not that many people.
So the reason I started this is when I ran for school board, I knocked on 2,732 doors in that process. The majority of the people complained about 2 things: the switching of the time at the school districts, which has nothing to do with you guys, and meeting times for both the school board and you guys. That's why I took up this effort, with other people approaching me saying, hey, why don't we take up an effort to do that? I'll say this to you, my opinion is that none of that matters, because as a board, I think it's your job to be available to the community. Availability to the community means available on their terms, not yours. That's my opinion, and that's the opinion of a lot of people in this community.
Okay, and I hope you take this comment correct, because I appreciate what you've done in bringing this information to us. but I can speak for each one of us up here, and we're available to anybody in the community. As an example, at the dedication to Stanton Landing, all 5 of us were pulled aside and spoken to by somebody about this issue on the archives. The other day, it took me 10 minutes to get into Winn-Dixie because 3 different people stopped me in the parking lot. So, but I understand where you're coming from, and I think that we need to have a discussion about this. So,
Yeah, and to respond, availability to me, I understand that all 5 of you have been available to me throughout my time in the county whenever I've needed something or asked. So I agree with that 100%, that the 5 of you are very responsive. I guess my opinion is the discussions during the meetings and things like that. That's what I meant by available, the meeting being available to the community. So not necessarily you as people, if that makes clarification.
okay. Commissioner Ross?
I agree with you. I've been agreeing with you for more than a year. I think that we should have meetings that are more convenient to the majority of the public. And I had folks, when I was running, approaching me at every forum that I went to, in the parking lots of stores that I was going into, asking for nighttime meetings, for accessibility, for them to be able to come in and participate in government, because they've not had that opportunity. I can tell you right now that I had 2 of my employees that asked me if I could give them paid time off to come attend meetings, and my answer was no. As an employer, I can't afford to pay somebody that's not being productive, and at the same time, they don't have the opportunity to come and participate in the government that they're helping support with their wages. So I concur with what you said, even if it was one nighttime meeting a month, to allow the public to be able to come in here and participate in what we do.
And in response to you, I agree with everything you said. And I will even say I work for Dell Corporation, and a doctor's appointment is a reason that I can take a flexible day. A county commission meeting is not.
Okay. Commissioner, I think Commissioner Goddard has a comment also.
Yeah, well, what I wanted to say is, in out talking to a lot of people, that most of them really, they'll come to the meeting if it's important to them, as you were saying. If it's important, they're going to come. They don't care if it's in the morning, in the evening, doesn't matter. If it's important, they're coming. But in talking to a lot of them, they weren't aware that you can watch this on YouTube. And after talking to some, and they can find out that it's easy to find, it's easy on YouTube. You can even go back and see different meetings. You can see the most present meeting. If they have a question, and now that I've gotten them to go to YouTube, they will call me or send me an email if they have a question on any subject that we've done here. So in today's time, I still think our meetings, we have to have a service here where we provide it during the day, 9 to 5. We have to have it. If we have it in the evenings, it is going to be additional cost. And I know you've said make them work late. Well, you can't do that. They have to be paid if they're working beyond 5 o'clock. So I'm not 100% for this. I'll come in anytime. If they tell me they want these meetings at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'll be here at 2 o'clock. If they're efficient is what I'm looking for. But with YouTube and our electronics, emails and the phone, answers are given quickly. Plus, you can't go to Walmart or anywhere else without talking to somebody about something. But thanks.
Commissioner Goddard, what are your numbers on YouTube? There's a clicker.
I have no idea.
Are we gonna
I'm sure they can
have a
find it,
debate
but
on
I don't
this
know what it
issue?
is.
I think this deserves a little bit of discussion, so. All right, Commissioner Turner?
Okay, Paul, I realize there's a small contingency of people, and you can give me your 87% of your 93 people or whatever you just came up with that wants nighttime meetings. If you look over your right shoulder right back there, do you see all them people sitting there? They're not sitting there for free. And the comment you've made also that you could just make them work extra. That's not how it works. You either pay them to be here, or you give them comp time off, which means they're not here tomorrow doing their jobs if we give them comp time off tomorrow. So while I totally understand the deal, I'm absolutely with Commissioner Pickens' analogy on this. If there's something here you want to go to, it never kept me from showing up before I was a commissioner. So we've had at least 4 nighttime meetings since I've been here. 2 of them were in conjunction with the city. And on those meetings, one person showed up to any of the four of them, and that was you. You showed up to one of them. Not, so you can't make me believe that if we start having nighttime meetings that we're gonna fill up this chamber with interested people. You can't make me believe that. If y'all wanna try it and have a night meeting at some point where you can rally the troops and try to get them to show up that month or whatever, okay, I'm game. But the second month or the third month, you're gonna see a big difference from the first month when everybody rallies to show how much we need night meetings, and even though it's gonna cost the county money. So unless somebody can change my mind, I'm not for night meetings. I'm for day meetings because of the efficiency involved in having day meetings versus night meetings. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
To be clear, the comment is a little bit out of context. The context of that conversation that Mr. Goddard and myself had was around what the actual cost would be. If someone could provide me what the actual cost would be of doing a night meeting, I will include that in our poll so people can make an educated decision. That was the context of that conversation.
Okay, all right, thank you. Administrator Suggs, is that something that Matt could do?
We could come up with
Without
a
a lot of-
number of what it would be a hard cost, but then you've got all the other issues that go in with it. When you start talking about night meetings and folks' schedule, we'll just have to come up with, I think this is not the venue for it. I think a
You're correct.
workshop may be.
It is.
We can come up with hard cost, but then you gotta look at the effect it will have on your staff if we're here till 11, 12 o'clock at night.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll look into it, Paul, thank you. Okay, is that all the public comment, or do we have one more? Mr. Douglas Hayes?
Good morning. I'm Douglas Hayes at 216 Hilltop Road, Satsuma. I'd like to make a comment in regards to the meeting scenario. Is that when I was running for office, which I am running again, is that we spouted about the idea of town hall meetings. That would be a separate entity and function and would alleviate the need for your employees to have to be attended. Somewhat like a parking lot parties. In your districts to have town hall meetings so that way your constituents can address you and they can be at fluctuating times and fluctuating days. That way you can rally your troops at your convenience and not have to worry about the security issues and all the other things that you would with the formality. I do agree that the daytime meetings are important because that's when you're conducting the business of the day. So the one way that you could offer your availability to your constituents in the evenings and on the weekends and that kind of thing would be by having town hall meetings. My reflection is that in regards to that, we've only had one that I'm aware of, and that was when we were considering firing the county administrator. So as far as town hall meetings, we're kind of lame on that, but that would be a good idea. The reason I'm here, though, was actually to address the revitalization of Palatka, where we're going to offer a gentleman $20,000 and apparently a $10,000 slush fund, or I don't know what you want to call it. But anyway, $30,000. And back in the con game, they call it the pigeon drop, where everybody puts their money into a bag, and eventually the term left holding the bag comes into place. We've had experts tell us, and we've even actually hired somebody for $25,000 to do basically the same thing. And it's very simple. You have to have something to offer, figure out your target audience, develop a advertisement campaign, and have a brand. Marketing 101. So the $30,000 I really feel should have went towards advertising. That's our weak point. Now in that, where would you start? If our target audience is the tourist, the person that's coming down on their way to Disney, they're going to go to the computer, their phone, and they're going to go Florida. Well, the free one that we can ride upon, that we need to get a good write-up and get our standings up higher, because it appears to be that they're promoting Suwannee County and the Suwannee River versus St. John's. There's not even really much terminology in regards to the bass capital of the world, is the Visit Florida website. It's a nonprofit organization that's been contracted to the state to do the marketing of Florida. We need to get our economic development team to get on the ball and be able to get along and decide what we have to offer at that Visit Florida website. There's your starting point. Thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Douglas Hayes. Do you have a comment?
Just thinking.
Okay. Any other individuals wishing to make public comment? Okay, I'll close the public comment portion of this meeting and move to item 6 and ask Mr. Scott Bonasset with Summit Professional Service to come forward for agenda item A and B.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Scott Modisette with Summit Professional Services. First item I have today is a fair housing workshop. This meeting will be held to educate the local elected officials and the general public concerning fair housing requirements. There's certain laws that, including local ordinances and state laws that protect an individual's right to fair housing requirements. In the sale and rental of housing, no one may make the following actions based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, familial status, or handicap: to refuse to rent or sell housing, to refuse to negotiate for housing, to make housing unavailable, to deny a dwelling, set different terms, conditions, or privileges for sale or rental of a dwelling, to provide different housing services or facilities, to falsely deny that housing is available for inspection, sale, or rental, for profit, to persuade owners to sell or rent, or to deny anyone access to or membership in a facility or service related to the sale or rental of housing. In mortgage lending, no one may take any of the following actions based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, familial status, or handicap: to refuse to make to refuse to make a mortgage loan, to refuse to provide information regarding loans, to impose different terms or conditions on a loan, such as different interest rates or points or fees, to refuse to purchase a loan, to discriminate in appraising properties, or to set different terms or conditions for purchasing a loan. Additionally, it is illegal to threaten, coerce, intimidate, or interfere with anyone exercising a fair housing right or assisting others who are exercising those rights. The county has adopted a local ordinance for fair housing, and as I mentioned, there's a state statute and also the Fair Housing Act protect an individual's right to live where they want to. That would conclude the Fair Housing Workshop. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, any questions? Commissioner Rawls?
Yes. About a month ago, we took up an issue getting a oversight committee. Actually, it was oversight. No, it wasn't oversight. It was a
Citizen Advisory Task Force.
Yes, sir.
For this. Am I assuming that was that for this?
This is a community
No, the
development.
question is, was that task force for this CDBG grant, or was it for another CDBG grant?
It's for this CDBG grant, yes, sir.
At the time, we didn't really know what the task force was for. It was brought before us, hey, we need to get this task force for a CDBG grant. Didn't know that the CDBG grant was for low-income housing. Now we do. And that day we figured it out. Apparently, I'm assuming you were the person that put together this list of participants, and I was told that 3 of the participants were on there because they had previously received money for low-income housing. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm trying to figure out exactly what it is that I'm not getting enough information out of this packet to understand what the Community Development Block Grant is actually going to be used for. Are you going to be the grant administrator?
We would submit a proposal for services.
Okay. And your proposal for services will be as grant administrator and or what?
Yes, sir. Grant administration.
Strictly grant administration?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Who administrates the program? The actual grant?
Well, it incorporates all of the aspects of program management and administration.
And what would you do in that capacity?
We do housing applicant intake, review income information. We would do contractor review and selection, and also do construction management oversight.
So how is this different then? Because and I'm new to the board, so forgive my ignorance. You have the Palaca Housing Authority, which deals with low-income housing in Putnam County as a whole. You also have the SHIP Committee, and we have a contract with a firm in Jacksonville, I believe, or have we, I know St. John's Housing Partnership has been enlisted. So how is this another, I guess right now, if we already have folks that are focused on low-income housing right now, how is this different than what they're doing? And are we just stacking competition on what we're already trying to get started or already doing?
It's not different. Those are actually used in conjunction. SHIP funds are used with CDBG to do housing rehab work in the county. I apologize, I've got a sore in my mouth that's affecting my speech. The SHIP funds are usually matched with CDBG funding and used in concert with those funds to do the same work.
So my question is it almost seems counterintuitive then that we would be looking to use the SHIP funds like we are now, working with the folks from St. Johns County. If we add to that pile, then they're having a hard time getting things started, and we compound the problem. To me, it seems counterintuitive.
It's really more money.
You mind if I ask just a quick question? Are you contemplating not asking for a grant? Is that what you're saying this morning, that we don't ask for a community development block grant?
Well, if you ask for a community development block grant and you get funded, and then you're saying, and I'm just learning how this stuff works. So, and again, please forgive my ignorance, but this is how I learn. If the SHIP money is being anticipated to be used by St. John's Housing Partnership or by someone else, are we not compounding that problem? Because what little bit I've been able to learn over the past few months about how we're spending or not spending our SHIP money, we were not in compliance apparently at some point. We're trying to get back into compliance. Is that a fair estimate?
Mr. Chairman?
Okay.
We're not using St. Johns County Partnership anymore. We hired a different firm
We've got a
to bring us in
different firm.
compliance from Northeast Florida Regional Planning Council.
They're working with them.
I'm sorry?
My understanding is they're working with them,
They're who?
the St. John's Housing Partnership.
Well, but we got a different contractor.
We got a different contractor. I would make the suggestion that you get Mr. Monestat's information, because I've called him before, because it is kind of confusing at the separate monies, I believe, but then they work together. And Susan may have some comments on that also, but I think you need to get with them and then them bring you up to speed on this. But what we're here today is just really to give you permission to apply for the CBD grant, correct?
Well, that's the next item on the agenda,
Right.
after following the fair housing workshop. I guess the question related to CDBG versus SHIP funding, it's just additional money for the same activity.
Right. And is there,
Well,
it's a completely
what have we-
different application process?
It's typically done, we take the SHIP list and incorporate it into the CDBG program.
And what have we done with the SHIP money in the past 2, 3, 5 years?
It goes to help low-income, elderly.
What have we done? What have we done? My understanding when I first got elected was that we were not in compliance and we had not been utilizing the funds.
That is correct, but Mr. Chairman, if I
Okay,
may.
Commissioner Turner.
That is correct. We were not in compliance, but we took steps last year to get into compliance because we got rid of the people that we were using before, and we hired a new set of people whose number one thing was to bring us in compliance and spend that money.
On time.
On time. So that is, if that's not rectified as of this time, then when it comes time the next time around, we'll rectify it again.
So my question is, how does this impact them?
It shouldn't impact them at all as far as going and getting more money. Hopefully, they can get more money and that we can get it spent by going through the program with the new administrator or whoever we hire to administrate that portion of the program. But, you know, sorry, go ahead.
No, I think your Commissioner Turner's absolutely correct, but I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Reynolds, Deputy County Administrator, who's worked very diligently with our new folks on this, and we can answer that question for you.
Yes, sir. We're actually, our new contractor is Guardian CRM, Community Resource Management. We've been working with them since last July. They are working to expend fiscal year 14-15 SHIP monies in order to complete the annual report for fiscal year 14-15 to bring us into compliance for that year. They are the entity that's working with the waiting list, and they are the ones that put together the scope of work for the homeowners and have put that out to bid. This morning I was going through emails and I've seen 6 or 7 purchase orders for SHIP projects using that money. So they are moving forward on those prior years that the previous administrators, we were having some issues.
So does this only impact 2018 money, 2019 money? Is that SHIP money, or?
CDBG would be completely separate. As Mr. Modisette said, we have a very long waiting list through the SHIP program, and to the point where I saw a notice at the front desk just last week where our administrators, the Guardian, has put a halt to adding anybody else to the waiting list because it's so long. So this CDBG money would be additional monies that could help those people at the top of the waiting list to get through the process that much faster.
Okay, that explains a little bit. So the $750,000 grant is for housing. This also goes into, you're asking for 3 motions, basically. Am I jumping ahead of you, or?
Yes, sir.
All right.
That would be the public hearing
Okay.
portion of the meeting.
So when you close the public hearing portion, are we going to discuss, you've got 3 different categories. Are we going to discuss that right now? Or
Yes,
is that
yes,
later?
sir.
Okay. So the 750,000 is one category. That's one specific CDBG grant?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The special category activities for your economic development up to $1.5 million, where does that money go?
Those are funds that can be used by a participating business to provide roadways, stormwater, water, sewer, any type of public infrastructure that the business would need to locate here.
So can you give an example of how that works?
Let's say you have a Walmart that wanted to locate, Walmart just as an example, wanted to locate somewhere and there wasn't sufficient sewer capacity for them. The grant would pay for the public infrastructure to run from one point to the next to connect that Walmart to the county or city's infrastructure.
Can it be used for a housing development if somebody was looking at putting something in East Palaca and said, hey, I need
No, sir,
$500,000?
you need a participating business that would commit to creating jobs.
Okay. Okay. Has this been done in the past?
We've tried.
Okay, so this is a first foray for Putnam County with this?
We haven't had a eligible participating business present themselves. We've worked with a number of businesses and gotten almost up to the contract period and never quite crossed the line on it.
What was the holdback on that?
Generally, it's timing. I'm trying to remember the last one that we did. They had signed a contract and they needed to start their hiring process earlier than the grant would allow. And there were some holdups in the grant funding, and they looked at another alternative for their business.
So it seems to me that if you offered somebody a large contingency of money to improve, I guess you can't improve their actual property, correct?
Right. It's
Roads,
only
water, sewer,
public
drainage, storm
infrastructure.
drainage. Are there other strings attached that would hold them back from making that decision?
Typically, a business like Publix doesn't want to do them because they don't want their employee information made available to the public.
Okay.
Financial information as well.
What about smaller businesses? Any?
Typically, you're looking at around 20 jobs for a $700,000 grant, and so you would need those job numbers to make that.
So if we approve this today and you applied for the CDBG and on the economic development category, do you take the 1.5 million down in one bite and then try to distribute it, or is it taken down in small bites up to 1.5?
It's done in an overall contract. It would be a county contract, let's say, a sewer project that would use up the $1.5 million.
If we could find a participating business that had 20 employees or more?
Yeah, that's the caveat, yes, sir.
Yeah. All right, so I guess what I'm having a hard time understanding is you apply for the CDBG before you have the participating company? Or do you apply for it?
No, you need them in place
Okay.
at the time of the application. We typically, when we do the first public hearing, we ask that you do move forward with an economic development grant in case a business does present themselves, and then you don't have to do the first public hearing again.
Okay, so we're just laying the groundwork for applying for a grant, not actually applying for the grant with this.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Okay. I don't know if we got out of order or not. Is there any action needed on the fair housing workshop?
No,
Or is this
sir.
just a
No, sir, there's
presentation?
not.
Okay. So we want to move forward with A, and you want to start the first public hearing.
Okay.
Scott, you want to go ahead and start that then?
Okay, thank you. This is the first of two public hearings that are required for the county to apply for a community development block grant. A motion to proceed, excuse me, with a category must be made as part of the, or following the public hearing. This hearing is held to outline the different types of grants that are possible. The second public hearing will be held once we have a draft application ready. We'll bring it before the commission. The CDBG program it originates at the federal level, trickles down to the state through the Department of Economic Opportunity. Communities like Putnam County apply through a competitive grant process. You're scored and ranked against other communities in the state who submit in the same category that you submit in. Funding is allocated by score. It's a mathematical, completely objective process where either you get the criteria or you don't meet the criteria. You gain the points or you don't gain the points. The county is eligible for $750,000 in CDBG funding. There is a deadline of May 6th for the federal fiscal year 2018 funding. There's going to be another cycle probably in September or August, September for the 2019 funding. If you're not successful for the 2018 funding, what we would do is slip you in for the 2019 funding. The idea being that it gets less and less competitive with each community being awarded a grant in previous cycles. I do want to stress that at this point, the county has opened to them three different categories of grant. The housing rehabilitation category is only one category of grant that's available to the county that provides physical improvements to low and low moderate income homeowners within the county's jurisdiction. In some cases, a severely damaged home can be demolished and rebuilt on site. The grant can also pay for what's called a neighborhood revitalization program. That would be a infrastructure project that would be in an area of low to moderate income. We would need to go out and do income surveying of households in that area to determine that the area qualified. That can be any type of that would be any type of infrastructure that, as long as it was within a low to moderate income neighborhood. Commercial revitalization will require that at least 51% of the county as a whole be low to moderate income, which you do not meet that requirement. The city of Palatka does, so they typically have done those commercial revitalization grants in the past. So really what you're looking at is selecting either the housing rehabilitation program or the neighborhood revitalization program. We've had lots of discussions in the past regarding potential neighborhood revitalization projects, and we would like to do one of those, but we haven't been able to identify a low to moderate income area that would qualify. We also would be looking at having matching funds available for the project, as well as having engineering and design specifications prepared.
Okay. Any questions of Scott?
I have a question.
Commissioner Rawls?
You said you're not able to find any low to moderate income areas that qualified. Is that in the unincorporated areas, or are we included incorporated areas?
It's an unincorporated area.
Okay, so this only applies to unincorporated?
Yes, sir.
And when you say there's no low to moderate, areas that qualify, is there a geographical area that you cannot go beyond, or?
No, and when I say that, I mean we don't have a specific project located in the low-income area.
You said in the past you've tried to find them and you couldn't find them in all of Putnam County?
We've vetted several projects in the past.
Can you give me an example of what you're looking for?
Road resurfacing, water line repair, sewer line repair, any type of public infrastructure where we can delineate a geographic area and then identify which homes will connect to that system.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments at all? Is this a public meeting? Do I need public comment? Okay, I'd like to open the public comment portion for this meeting. Anybody wishing to speak about for this or against, please come forward. Mr. Adamsack?
More of an idea, Paul Adamsack, 150 Spooner Road, Hawthorne, Florida. More of an idea for an area you may consider is the Johnson area of Putnam County. It's a very underserved area. There's a lot of, how do you put it? There's a lot of need in the area. I live out there. And there's also some industrial type buildings that are underutilized in that area, as well as some business type buildings that are basically vacant. So that may be an area that you may want to present, whether it's with the Chamber of Commerce, work together to present some of these buildings that are basically sitting there. And that meets the needs of, I believe, what you described as well for the community. So just an idea.
Okay. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Excuse me, any other public comment?
Sorry.
Okay, seeing none, okay, ma'am? You come forward and state your name and address.
Good morning.
Morning.
Famous Miss McCoy.
My name is Sheila McCoy. I live at 115 Pinion Lane in Palaca, Florida, but I'm very much interested when I saw this public comment about the CBD grant for rehabilitating homes where I work at the Palaca Christian Service Center. I know that there is a dire need for housing and home rehabilitation, and so I didn't know which category that they would be in reading it. I was confused also about which category that they would be applying for, but I just wanted to say that if money can be gotten and utilized to help the people that need it, then please vote that they proceed, and hope and prayerfully we will receive it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And we've always found a need for housing rehabilitation in the county. As Mr. Suggs mentioned, there's a long list of SHIP applicants.
Okay, any other public comment? Okay, we'll close the public comment portion.
If I could just also, the economic development category grant, we didn't really discuss that outside of just our conversation. That is a $1.5 million grant that's available to the county. Requires a participating business to locate in the county, willing to commit to create jobs.
Okay, all right, thanks, Scott. Any other comments or questions?
There's
Okay,
one more comment if I could.
Okay, Commissioner Rawls?
I've still got a little fuzz going on up in the brain right now, but I'm getting a grip on this. But low to moderate income, by the numbers that I'm looking at, I just don't understand the numbers you provide on page 33, why we can't find an area of need that meets because you said it didn't meet the low to moderate income qualification standards. What, besides being low to moderate income, what other standards are that we have to meet to be able to get money to put roads into these areas or potentially water or sewer?
You need densities of properties, and also you need a project.
So what densities are we talking about? Because when you get in the unincorporated areas, you're on acreage, you're not in quarter acre or half acre lots.
You need about 60 homes to qualify for a grant. You spread the money out over a large area, and you can't quite get the homes that you need.
Have you looked at Putnam County before coming today to see if we even have any areas that might even qualify?
We've looked in the past, yes, sir.
And we don't have any?
Not that correspond with the project that you want to do.
Because our housing hasn't changed much, arguably, in the past 10 years. So I just...
Understand.
You know, if it didn't qualify then, it's probably not going to qualify now. So are we just chasing? It's not costing us anything, correct?
No, sir.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Rose, I do believe that, you know, conversation with Mr. Monistat at another time you could bring some of your ideas and maybe I could go back and forth and there's something may have changed and we may be able to apply for another, you know, another part of this grant, so. Okay, do we need to take action on this today or is this just the first reading?
I need a motion to select a category.
Okay.
One or three?
I'm sorry?
One or three motions?
3 motions.
Okay.
One for the 2018, one for the 2019, and one for the economic development category.
Can we do it in one motion, or do you need three separate motions?
3 separate motions, please.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that if you're ready?
Yes.
I move we proceed with FFY 2018 Community Development Block Grant in the regular category.
Second.
Okay, got a proper motion by Commissioner Turner, proper second by Commissioner Harvey. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Mr. Chairman, I move that to proceed with FFY 2019 Community Development Block Grant in the regular category, should the 2018 not be successful.
Second.
I got a proper motion by Commissioner Turner, proper second by Commissioner Harvey. Any discussion? Seeing none, all indicate in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion
Mr.
passes.
Chairman, I move that to proceed with FFY 2018 Community Development Block Grant in the Economic Development category should an eligible project be identified.
Second.
Okay, proper motion by Commissioner Turner, proper second by Commissioner Harvey. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Thank you
Passes.
all. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take a 3-minute recess.
3 minute even?
Yep. Are you ready? Okay, I'd like to reconvene our regular Board of County Commission meeting, and we'll move down to item 7, our consent agenda. And before we get to it, I'd like to make sure all the commissioners understand and got the addendum. We have 2 items to add, item H and item I also to the record. So are there any items that commissioners wish to pull? And I'll start with Commissioner Harvey.
I have none, sir.
Commissioner Turner,
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Goddard,
I have none.
Commissioner Rawls.
I am pleased to announce I have none. And by the way, so are y'all.
I didn't hear that.
So you'll be
Yeah, what
pleased-
did you say?
You'll be pleased.
Don't give him a second chance.
And I have none also.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we pass the consent agenda, items A through I.
Second.
Second.
Okay, we have a proper motion to accept the agenda items as presented from Commissioner Harvey and a second by Commissioner Rawls. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Somebody write that down.
Mr. Turner said it would be this way.
Gotta have a little levity, right?
Okay. All right, we'll move on to agenda item 8 and turn it over to the Honorable Tim Smith for any comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can't believe what I just heard. And I also would want to say to Commissioner Goddard's comment about if the meeting is at 2 o'clock in the morning, he'll be there. I'm not going to be there. But I am pleased to tell you that yesterday, the comprehensive annual financial report for the last budget year was delivered to all of you into your mailboxes. I hope that you will look through there. There are some positive numbers in that. And if you will remember last year, as we began our budget year, we were struggling with having our CAFRA, as we call it, completed by our auditors. And so we had really frank discussions with them over the summer last year after the last one was submitted on the absolute last day, which was, I think, the end of June. Yeah, and so here we are at the 1st of April, and we have our CAFRA. The CAFRA is an valuable tool for all of us to use as we then look forward to the budget process for next year. So we're pleased with that, and I want to thank Ms. Frank for her efforts, and Carl Riggs and Ingram for their effort to get this out in a timely manner, which is what we expected, so that we now have proper numbers to look at as you go through the development of your upcoming budget. So with that, I want to congratulate Ms. Frank on that and hope that you will look at that. We are working with Administrator Suggs to find a time in a workshop in the next, hopefully 1 or 2 workshop opportunities to go over the CAFRA with you, so that if you have questions or concerns about information that's in there, that we could have an opportunity to discuss that and then use that for planning purposes moving forward. And with that, Mr. Chairman, that's all we have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith. Okay, we'll move down to number 9, appointments. Any appointments by commissioners? I'll start with Commissioner Rawls.
Do have one for Parks and Recreation at large, removing Wayne Troiano and adding Lindsay Lambert.
What was the name, Commissioner?
Wayne Troiano had a reason. Okay.
The new one?
Lindsay Lambert, Lambert.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Rawls to nominate Lindsay Lambert, and we have a second by Commissioner Harvey. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, sign. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Rawls. Is that all the appointments?
No, sir.
Excuse me, Commissioner Goddard.
Yes, I have on Animal Services Advisory Committee, Joe Kirby has committed to continue his services. And also on the Greenbelt Advisory Committee, Michael Birkin has also agreed to stay on for another year, another 4 years.
Okay. We don't need to vote on that one because it's a district nomination. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Goddard. Commissioner Turner?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I saw an email where Miss Virginia Oakwood would like to continue serving on the Animal Services Advisory Committee in an at-large position.
Second?
Okay, got a proper motion by Commissioner Turner, proper second by Commissioner Harvey. Any discussion on Ms. Oakwood? Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, congratulations, Ms. Oakwood.
And that's all I have for today, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner Harvey?
I have none, sir. Thank you.
Okay, and I have none. So, okay, we'll move down to comments by Terry Suggs, County Administrator.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. Comments this morning will be rather short. Just a reminder that April 16th, we have a workshop that morning. And then we'll have our budget kickoff meeting for a few minutes, and we also have the insurance that morning. And then everybody will be taken off to go to Tallahassee for Rural Days. I need to, if you folks can think about it between now and 2 o'clock today, of those of you who will be attending the reception on Tuesday night, and if you'll be bringing a guest with you, if I could get that information today, I need to supply that to Ms. Dana so she can do a head count for us. And then also, the second end of that will be, I've heard from Commissioner Turner, those of you who will or will not require the second night of the hotel room, if you can also think about that and let me know so I can take care of that as well. So that takes care of Rural Days. Looking forward to Tallahassee. Commissioner Harvey and Commissioner Rawls and I spent some time in Tallahassee a couple of weeks ago, walking the halls and talking to some folks, Small County Coalition, as well as our FACA folks. I think we had a really good visit up there. So I think our presence is certainly recognized when we walk in now. So, and that's always a positive. Last two quick items. You know, we've been looking to fill the solid waste landfill director's position. We completed the interviews, made an offer. We have an acceptance, and we have a gentleman by the name of Jay Tilton who will be beginning to work with Lynn and James and the rest of the folks at landfill somewhere around April 22nd, I believe it is. So we'll get him in here at a meeting shortly thereafter for a proper introduction. And while we have him in the audience today, we have Mr. David Parsons back there. Just wave at us, David. David is the lesser half of the duo of Laura and David Parsons. Laura will be beginning April 22nd as mine and Matt's new executive assistant here at the county as well. So, David, thank you for sharing her with us. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Castleberry?
Yes,
You have any
sir.
words of wisdom for us?
Excuse me?
You have any words of wisdom for us?
No. No, we're settling into our routine as interim county attorneys. Tabitha has been feeding me a steady stream of stuff to work on, and we're getting some things done, right, Tabitha? Thank you.
Okay, was the Garnet and Gold game last weekend? Do you have any
Yeah, and I was
comments
just
on
reading
that?
about it a little while ago. I don't know much about it.
Did Florida State finally score? Sorry, I had to do that as a Gator fan.
Rank what?
Yeah.
That's all I have, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, Commissioner comments. We'll start with Commissioner Rawls.
Just want to reiterate that we had a great time at the dedication of Stanton Landing and St. Paul's Church. And for any folks that have not seen the place, it's a really neat little place, and it's a great start to something I think is going to be really beneficial to Putnam County for ecotourism. I believe their next stop is to put in a trailhead on the river in Palatka itself. So, but paddlers will be able to go from these trailhead to trailheads, have a place to spend the night possibly. At Stanton Landing, they actually have some camping available for primitive camping. Really don't have a lot more than that. Everything seems to be going well. Because the workshop.
Okay, Commissioner Goddard?
Well, I'm gonna throw in here, the fair was incredible, those that didn't make it out there, but we had a lot of out-of-town guests. A lot of St. Johns County tags were out there in the parking lot. It was well attended. There were a lot of people there. I want to congratulate this man right here, our chairman. Every year, at the Catfish Festival, they go out and they get what's called cabbage, which is actually the tops out of the palm trees. And he's been doing this
For 29 years?
At least.
I know it's been 41 years all total.
But he's been out there. I went out there. You actually go out into the swamp, and you find the trees, you cut the trees, you haul the trees, you haul the tops up, and then I didn't get involved in the second day where they basically carry them into Crescent City, and then on Friday they clean them all up, and then they prepare them ready to be cooked. So I don't know how many hours of sleep he's gotten in these last week, but I know it couldn't be much. Of course, then I didn't attend the Catfish Festival. It was a nice time with my daughter, so I didn't get to go. But also Stanton Landing was great. It was well attended also. I mean, very well attended. It was great out there. And we have all our trails now are connecting. Those that get out there on a bicycle, I'm not one that gets out there on the bicycle. I like riding around in my Jeep. But the trails are fantastic. They're great to look at. And again, I always encourage you, go out and see what's going on. There's always something going on in Putnam County, and our county is just incredible for the diversity. It's just unbelievable what you can find. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Goddard. Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do want to bring your attention to open house meeting with FDOT on April 23rd at the Interlaken Community Center from 4:30 to 6:30. This will be a discussion about the final leg of State Road 20 from Royal Way to 315. That's the first thing I want to talk about. So please avail yourself to be out there. This is going to connect Interlaken to Hawthorne with a 4-lane and a bike path through there and a sidewalk. This coming Saturday, March for Jesus out at Interlaken at the Caboose. Pastor Wayne is doing that at 9 o'clock. U-turn is this Saturday, not mistaken, this coming Saturday. And I do want to say thank you to Susan, Stacy, and Matt. If you don't avail yourself to them, you're missing out, because this morning I had some questions about some financial things, and they were going, what, account 162, no 135, no 165. And they knew these account numbers. They knew what was supposed to be in them. And I tell you what, it was beyond me. Matt gets on his computer, says, yeah, here's the answer you're looking for. Avail yourself, please, because these people are the best, and we need to celebrate that. The poles that we mentioned, the bamboo poles, are in the back here. I brought them in from the house for the event on Thursday night. So if you want to be a part of that, you can do that. And last but not least, I want to say thank you to our chairman, Commissioner Bill Pickens. You don't realize how much work he does, and he's a gentleman and a scholar when it comes to things that he does in the community. But I arrived at Catfish Festival to talk. Imagine that, right? They give me the microphone and allow me to talk. They didn't give me the wireless one this time. I was a little bit upset about that, but they gave me a long cord, so I was able to move around. But I get to MC such a wonderful event along with JT Stout, and we share the duties. But this gentleman was there when I got there at 7:15 in the morning, already starting working after he'd already been working for days and weeks ahead of time getting ready. And we were able to help clean up a little bit before the rush came. And let me assure you that the rush came. And there was a lot of people there. And Commissioner Rawls, you were there also doing hamburgers and whatever needed to be done. It's amazing to see all the help from the Rotary clubs that come down. But even the students, Chairman Pickens, that from the high school, just amazed me how many students came out to be a part of that. So thank you for allowing me my little part. And if you would like, I would love to talk some more next year. So anything I can do to help.
We'll definitely have you there. So,
thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Harvey. Commissioner Turner?
I would also like to join Mr. Suggs in welcoming Mr. Tilton on board. I think he's gonna be very impressive when he comes here. I think he's gonna be gung-ho and a very welcome addition to our team. Just for the record, I didn't get to help hire him, but I'm tickled to death that's who they picked, so I think he'll do well. I had talked, I think at the last commission meeting, or maybe the one before, about possibly instigating a comp plan revision. Or have we selected a workshop yet of when we think we're gonna get to do our kickoff? Comp plan revisions aren't something that happens in 30, 60, 90 days. This is a 6-month or longer ordeal by the time you go through the process and decide what you want changed and send it to the planning commission and go through that process and then bring it back to the board. It's a long drawn out thing, and if we're not real careful, it'll be this time next year and we'll be saying, did we ever get a chance to start that comp plan review? So I was wondering if maybe we're in possibly May.
Yeah, that's what we discussed when we were talking about it at the, putting a meeting together for the 5 commissioners as well as planning and us to get together. We're looking at May because April was already booked up.
Yeah, have we been able to find us another planner yet? I knew we were 1 or 2 short or something. There's no way we can expect Mike Brown to be able to do this by himself. That's not an option here.
No,
so he's got to be able to have some. This is going to be, once this starts, this is going to be very entailed. I mean, it's going to take somebody that's going to probably be 90% of their job. So, I mean, he can advise them and give them history and give them the list he's been making for the last year of things that need to be changed, but we can't expect him to do this. So do you think we'll have a planner on board at some point in the not too distant future?
Well, I'd like to say the answer to that question is yes, but as you can tell, it's been a while since we've been able to get a planner here. We've interviewed 2, I believe it is, in the last week or so. I don't know where we're at in the process, but I think the last one was just this past Friday. I'll get with Mr. Brown. But that will all be part of the conversation we'll have when we have the kickoff meeting in May on what avenues we may need to pursue this and which we can get it done in a timely order. But at the same time, make sure that we encompass all the things that the commission would like to see updated and changed throughout the plan. So we'll have those very detailed discussions come May.
Okay.
Probably the third Tuesday of May is what I'm thinking, because that meeting could take up some time.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
One last thing, if I may, Mr. Chairman. I've been talking about to anybody that'll listen to me on the street that has serious complaints about the way we're doing permitting in Putnam County right now, that we're really trying to switch over to an online permitting system. I had asked Mr. Sialfi where we were on that, and basically got an update before the meeting, and we're in a stage of it that we're trying to get the price of what it would cost to mitigate the existing information into the new program. And so once we get that, we can move. We will know what the actual cost instead of the proposed costs are in the new software system. So hopefully, not too much longer, we'll be able to go off in that direction, which I think will help a lot. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield the floor.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Turner. I'd like to start with thanking Rhonda Masters and all the work that she did with the Stanton Landing dedication. Commissioner Turner read the proclamation, and he was a little under the weather, but did a great job. It was very well attended. I can tell you I had a number of people contact me afterwards that had driven up from Crescent City, and they were really impressed with the facility and just the whole dedication. And I know that the Stanton family was really very impressed, very touched for that. So thank you for that. And thank you for the kind comments. I've been a Rotarian for 31 years, but my dad, some 40 years ago, said, "Son, it's about time for you to start your civic duty to the community." I said, "Well, what do you want me to do?" He said, "I want you to tote swamp cabbage." So I've been doing it since I was about 20 years old, and I have such a tremendous crew. Some of my crew have been doing it for 41 years. Many of them for 20. We do involve some of the students from the high school, as Commissioner Harvey said, through the RTC program and FFA and that, and they help all 3 days for us. And I just want to thank all the Rotary clubs. Crescent City Rotary Club, is the catalyst behind it, but the Interlochen Lake Area Club was there. Jeff Rawls is the president of the Sunrise Club. Good contingency from the Sunrise Club and from the Noon Club, all working together to help us pull this off. And Commissioner Goddard did come out Wednesday, and he did tote swamp cabbage. So, but we fed you very well, didn't we?
We did.
So, and Commissioner Rawls helped on Saturday. And I was really, when I saw Larry in the parking lot this morning, I was wondering if he was going to be able to talk, because he did talk all day. And he was down there at 7 o'clock, and really the emceeing didn't start until 8:30 or 9. And Larry just started cleaning up some of the tables, and that's what Larry does. When you get Larry, you get him 100%. I want to thank Administrator Suggs for coming down and helping, and we rode in the parade. It looks like it's a very successful event. Last year we got rained out a little bit, but this year the numbers are up, so it should be very profitable. So thank you, and we have a 2 o'clock. Okay, excuse me.
Mr. Chairman, point of privilege, if you would allow me just a second. 2 things I wanted to mention, not as clerk of the court, but you were speaking of the Stanton Landing activity that was a great project, and I attended the designation of Trail Town Friday evening at the River Center, and I wanted just to make a few comments about that, if I could. I've been involved with the development of the Palaca to Lake Butler Trail for probably 35 years, and it was mentioned at the ceremony about how long that has taken. And when I was first elected as mayor, I really didn't know much about rails to trails, as the general term was then. And I certainly didn't understand how long it takes for these things to happen. But 35 years later, we almost have a 100-mile bike path on an old rail bed completed. We're just lacking a couple of little spots that'll come to fruition. But in that time, there have been so many people that have been involved in this effort, so that we now have the River to Sea Loop, which is the water equivalent of the bike path. We have equestrian trails, and Palaca and Putnam County are a major hub recognized by folks all over the state for that designation. One of the things I wanted to mention, there was a gentleman there named Herb Hiller. Some of you know Herb. And I was reflecting back on my friendship with Herb over a lot of years. And it reminded me that I've met people in the environmental community that are so revered all over the United States. Marjorie Harris Carr. Now, we may disagree with her on Rodman, but I always appreciate someone's passion for whatever their effort is that they're doing. And she was recognized as an environmental leader, started some of the Forever Florida programs where they got the legislature to agree to set aside millions of dollars to do public acquisition of environmentally sensitive lands for preservation. I got the opportunity one time to meet Nathaniel Reed, Nat Reed. He was nationally known, he's probably the most important lifelong figure in environmental work. And then I get to meet Herb Hiller. But then I think locally we've got folks that are just like that. Linda Kreider, Craig McLean, Sam Carr, and all those folks that have a passion for what this effort is about. And I was so honored to be there and be among all those folks and to hear of the great accomplishments that have been made. And I'm going to keep pushing this idea, and I always say this everywhere I go. We need to name a part of that trail after Craig McLean, because without him and his vision back then that started this, with meetings with the mayor of Palaca, the meeting of Keystone Heights, the meeting with the mayor of Stark, none of this would have happened. And so I take every opportunity I can to throw out that some of this should be named after Craig McLean. So that's that story. Secondly, I want to mention the passing of Joyce Conley. Joyce was the wife of Lee Conley, who served on the city commission with me, and Lee Conley was the driving force behind having a local domestic violence shelter and effort in our community. Unfortunately, Putnam County ranks at the wrong end of the list of most per capita domestic violence incidences. And he knew that we needed to do something, and he single-handedly worked with the Florida Domestic Violence Coalition about getting this shelter certified and designated, so that meant that funds that should come to help Putnam County citizens that are victims of domestic violence have some help locally and not have to go to Gainesville. And that's where this effort was in the past. All of our folks that needed help, needed counseling, needed housing, had to go to Gainesville. And so Joyce was instrumental in Lee's effort to make this happen. It's rare that a domestic violence shelter is named after a man, but ours is because of that great work. And she passed this week, and I wanted to make sure that I and hopefully all of you will keep the Conley family in your prayers and recognize their great effort in some years past for our community. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tim. Any other business to come before this board? Okay, we have a 2 o'clock workshop. We stand adjourned.